So, hi everybody, and welcome to my first episode of Coffee and Conversations. Coffee and Conversations is a monthly chat that I have with phenomenal women who are doing great things out there in the world, putting their little brand of difference and just trying to leave this world a little better, So, I am excited to have with me my first guest on today's shows, Tash Mitch of tashmitch.com. Tash is a life and business coach. She's also an energy alchemist, and she's going to break that down for us for those who don't know what an energy alchemist is. But what she does is mixes the modern day coaching model with ancient truths and wisdom, and she does this to help her clients to create transformation, expansion, and success in every area of their lives. I quite like the sound of that. She uses the idea of alchemy, which is really the concept of turning base metal into gold, as a metaphor. This is nice. As a metaphor to help her clients to change their limits and beliefs, emotions, feelings into ones that are uplifting, progressive, and aligned to their soulful purpose. I quite like the sound of that as well, soulful purpose.
Yes.
She's also a facilitator of group circles and session. And in these sessions, she would share wisdom and create space to help people to live more meaningful lives and unlock the wisdom as well as the insight contained within each individual and the group as a whole. Now, she works with therapists, coaches, teachers, and change makers to help them to hone their message and cultivate the kind of energy that will lead to their greatest success. She's also the author of a book, which is Artists of Health, and she's a Reiki master teacher. So I want to welcome Tash and tell her thanks for taking off her time to join me in Coffee and Conversations.
Kalana, I can't say enough about you. I absolutely love your energy. I love the vibe you got going on, and I love the work that you're doing, and the fact that your heart is so much planted, involved with, making change and transformation that's positive in the lives of women. So it's just such a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor that you've asked me to be in your first episode. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Now, I have to say that I've connected with Tash, I would say, in a real interesting way because I found her site probably about a year ago from something somebody put on Twitter, and I followed back and I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And there was just like a genuine vibe, energy you could get even from reading her words and visiting the site. So I bookmarked it, and I would go back from time to time to visit the site. And one day I happened to have a chance meeting with Tasha's mom, and she's based in Grenada, where I am. And she starts telling me, "Oh, Tash would so love you. I think you should meet my daughter Tash." And I was like, "Tash isn't Tash Mitch?" She was like, "Yes, you know her." So then I had to tell her the story of how I stumbled across Tash. So I am a big believer in divine intervention and serendipity, and I think that was just a classic example. And from there, we actually went on, along with Tasha's mom, who is a life coach and a speaker, to do an event called Transform Your Story, Transform Your Life. And it was really, really significant to me as well as some of the other women who would have attended. So Tasha is no stranger to me, and I'm seriously honored to have her on this first episode of Coffee and Conversations. And again, we're all about conversations. We are going to converse. I'm not interviewing Tash. We're just going to have a conversation and see where it leads. Yeah?
Absolutely. I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. So Tash, what exactly is an energy alchemist? Like I've stumbled across someone who calls herself a word alchemist. So I figured it was, creating magic with words or something like that, and she's quite good. But I mean, as somebody who owns the space of an energy alchemist, what would you say an energy alchemist is?
Well, so much of the work that I'm doing is from the inside out, and I always say that to people. It's basically, I actually teach from the lessons that I learn. And so from that point of view, it's like I'm growing along with everybody else. And
Right.
so calling myself an energy alchemist was first for myself to actually create a space around the work that I do that was focused on bringing excellence and bringing mastery and bringing the best that I can bring to people. And when I think of an alchemist and think of turning base metal into gold or turning the mundane into the sacred, it was really something that kind of resonated quite strongly with me. I've been an energy worker for a long time, and energy work is basically working with the more subtle elements of ourselves. So we've got the way that we outwardly express, like I can look at you and I can see the words that you're speaking, I can hear the words that you're speaking, I can see the vibe that you're giving off. But underlying all of that, we all have that sense of when something is genuine, for example, when something is authentic, when someone's trying to hide something, when, that kind of like underlying subtle intuitive sense that everybody has. And that has always been like a source of major major like I've been exploring that for so long. It's kind of something that really grabbed my attention and really honed it in. So a lot of the work that I'm doing is providing coaching for people, but really honing them into their intuition and into what energy means for them as well.
Awesome.
Mm.
Very good. That was good. I think you condensed it really nicely.
Yeah.
So I know you're a speaker, you're an author, you're also a coach. I mean, how do you manage all of those, I mean, Fempowered is all about women and empowering women no matter their story. And one of the challenges that I often hear women speak about is their lack of balance. Like, I mean, as women, we can be so compartmentalized. There are so many facets to us. And I know that you could struggle and be a really great mom, but a really bad employee, or you struggle with managing your time and different things like that. But I mean, I've worked with you, and you have such a serene vibe about you and seem always so collected or collective. I have to ask, like, how do you manage all the different things that you do and all the different parts of you? I'm thinking it must be a struggle, but then again, it may not.
Well, it's like we said before we started recording this particular show. I feel very much that we have a purpose. All of us have a divine purpose, something that we're here to do, something that we're here to expand within ourselves and to share with other people. And so connecting to that has always been really important to me, but also actually knowing that there's a flow of energy that is always available to me. So it's really about actually getting into that flow. But the only way you get into that flow is if you have a calm alertness about you. Because as soon as you get to the point where you're actually in that kind of zone where you're struggling, or you're in that zone where you're really anxious and there's kind of like the world has taken over and you can't see the wood for the trees, you actually cut off your own source of intuition, your own source of inspiration, your own source of inner guidance, basically. And so because this is like something that I'm reiterating with everybody like constantly through my work, it's something for me that every time I reiterate it with someone else, I reiterate it for myself, which is one of the things I was saying to you before about I'm growing with everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of much as I put myself in the line of being the facilitator and the coach and holding spaces for certain things to happen, at the same time, this learning experience is really circular, So what I give to you, I give to myself, and what you give to me, you give to yourself.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. When did you feel it was important to, or what prompted you to get into the coaching space? I mean, coaching is, I have struggled for a while to embrace the term life coach because, and I think I mentioned this during our conversation we had in Grenada. When you're transforming and you're healing and you're growing, I felt it was almost in like not authentic to label myself as a coach because at the time my understanding of a coach was somebody who would have sort of perfected, and I figured that hey, I'm still working things out. I don't think it's right to take on that title. But then I realized along the way that it wasn't really so much that I wanted to take it on, it's how people saw me because of the work that I was doing for them. So I have been slowly embracing that label. But I mean, I see you as a coach, and I see you operating effectively in that space. But I know you were doing other things before, and I'm curious as to find out when did you just know that this was something that you had to go full throttle into?
Well, it's interesting because when I actually first started sort of getting into energy work and really, developed a huge interest for it, it wasn't something that was known widely. So at that point it was very much like a hobby type situation for me, and I was working in media advertising. So I started working firstly for the BBC, and then ended up moving to working for a magazine called Music Week magazine and United Business Media. So at that point, I wasn't really in that zone of transforming or transformation, and then the energy work started actually really starting to take over, where the interest just started getting more and more, and it felt like I needed to find a way to do this as my job. So instead of actually going into just energy work, I ended up going into body work, which was massage and sports massage and myofascial release, and basically working with the physical body, but actually bringing in the energy work into it. And that was a huge passion for of mine. I sort of like went to India and studied massage, went to Thailand and studied massage, really developed and honed that sort of skill of sensing through the body. But as I was going along, basically, people were coming and they were talking about their life and where they were. And the conversation would develop where they would actually leave and feel expanded out of it and feel like, okay, yes, I've actually found where it is I want to go, or just out of that conversation I kind of have a bit more clarity. And this started happening more and more and more, where people were coming for the body work, but ultimately I was sensing they were coming for the coaching. So it was just kind of like something that developed, and it felt really natural then for me to expand on it, basically, and to find a way, because energy work will always be the thing that drives me. It's always the thing that excites me the most. So it was then finding a way to mix the energy work into the coaching, and hence the Energy Alchemist came to life, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
In a conversation we had earlier before we actually started recording, I was a bit okay. Let me psych myself up and get ready for this. And you spoke about tapping into my divinity, and I've heard you use that expression before.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about that. You know, the whole accessing our divinity, what divinity means to you, how do we engage with it, and be an expression of the divinity that we carry within.
Divinity to me is your highest possible expression. It's basically when you actually tap into the wisest part of yourself, the most informed part of yourself, the part of yourself that actually has access to the answers and links you to everything and everyone. When you're able to tap into that, it's ultimately your God essence, and it's what people would call God, or what people would call life force or life source, or whatever term that people use. The term for me isn't the most important part. The most important part is the feeling of it, and whether you're actually able to access that. And so for me, the term divine is a term that I use for that, because I have got that kind of like quite dramatic element, that a little bit of a dramatic element in my lean. So it's kind of like I always sort of have a kind of humorous thing with the divine, because when you think of the divine, you almost think of those kind of feather boas and this, so I have that kind of like, I have that sense of the divine that is kind of it makes you feel lush, it makes you feel beautiful, it makes you feel like you're connected, like you're strong, like you're in your woman space, like all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the deeper connection for the divine for me is a deeper connection to my life source, my life force. And really having an intention to keep that connection running at all times is something that's really prominent for me.
That's beautiful. That
Yeah.
is beautiful. So what are you up to now? I last saw you in February and you were going back to the UK. What is Tash doing now? I know you're always busy, and I have to say I really enjoyed your talk with Barclays. Tash did
Uh,
a great talk for Barclays Bank. Was it Barclays Bank, right?
yeah.
And that's YouTube, so you could check it out. Very inspiring and her very calm, serene self. But so I know you did that. But what are you working on now? What's next for you?
Well, one of the things for me, as you know, because you're really informed about the digital space, is actually creating a global circle of people. It first started off where it was a global circle of women, and I had a course that was really dedicated to that. But the further I was going through, I was getting the guys going, but what about us? So basically, I'm actually redesigning and developing the course so it's actually more embracing, but it's about connecting to the divine and actually bringing that through the body in a really practical way, in a way that you can actually take into your life and own. And that's a series of meditations that you do daily for a period of 7 weeks, so 49 days. So I'm in the process of developing that, and that is starting to expand outwards where it's kind of becoming a quite a global gathering of people. So far, I think I've got people from around about 10 different countries who are involved with that. And there's two courses that's coming out of that. There's also my life coaching work that I do one-to-one with people. And there's a sort of coaching model that I use called intuitive wisdom, which basically helps people to link up. So it's for me helping people to actually really link to their own intuition and to get a sense of what that is for them and how they, for me, everything is about how you could bring it into your day-to-day life, you know, how you can use this part of yourself, this really powerful part of yourself, and bring it into your everyday life. So yeah,
Right.
that's kind of basically what I'm involved with at the moment.
Lovely, lovely.
Mm.
Okay, so your space is expanding. I am still primarily working with women.
Mm.
I think that's where I'll be for a while because Fempower is all about empowering women.
Mm.
As somebody who works with women, but you're also expanding, what message would you give to women to, as you always say, to bring that divine into your daily life? So it's not just an experience you have when you work with a coach or you meditate, but where you actually embody and walk with and carry.
Yeah.
How would you how would you recommend we access and live through that?
That has to be like a day-to-day check-in with self, basically, because as you know, like, but your mind can wander off. Life can actually do what it does. You get yourself into situations where there might be conflict or there might be challenge, and you have to, you know, it can take you out of your zone, out of your center. And if it's not in your awareness that your center is of great importance to you, and actually maintaining that center is of great importance, you then find yourself kind of like just, you know, it's almost like I call a plastic bag in the wind. You know, you blow with any kind of you know, any kind of impetus, any kind of stimulus that comes your way. You know, it affects you, and that, you know, there's nothing wrong with interacting with life and having that openness to allow life in, but at the same time you need to know what life, you know, what things, what it's doing to your energy, and whether it's actually reducing your energy. So it means that you then haven't got the resources to actually meet your daily struggles, or whether you're actually allowing things to expand you, whether you're allowing your challenges to teach you, to grow you, to make you a better person, which then allows for that expansion, and it allows for that deeper sense of wisdom to come through. So that was a long answer, but the short answer would be, it has to be in your awareness. It has to be in in your walk, in your kind of like mindset, for you to actually keep this present, your connection to your divinity, basically.
Awesome. I
Mm,
like that. I like that.
yeah.
So, what would you like to be in Grenada? Have you any ideas?
We've been talking about coming back to Grenada around about maybe August, September time, that kind of time. And definitely because I mean, I grew up in Grenada, so I have a real strong link. I love Grenada. I love the people. I love the vibe. I love that kind of earthy energy it's got going on. So for me, whenever I come, it's really always looking for ways to work with people, to collaborate, which is what makes it so exciting, as having this relationship with you as well. So yeah, when I am coming, definitely we'll link up and I'll let you know.
Yeah. One of the things I must say about you is that you're really you're really good at finding the things and people that need pulling out. You're really good at affirming them, and you have a subtle way of giving people a need to pause and reflect. I don't know if you know that, but I have found that. So I appreciate you for that. Because through the conversation that we had about a coach, I was able to sort of pause and reframe my mind and reflect. And I think everybody needs to really experience you, have the opportunity to have a conversation with you. So it would be great when you come back if you could definitely do a couple of
Absolutely.
lessons. So what is also good is that she's a big collaborator. So she doesn't just come put on her events and just be gone, but she has collaborated with not just myself, but her mom, who is a speaker in her own right, Carol Vasquez. She is the founder of the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, and she's also a speaker who does great work here in Grenada. But you've also collaborated with Malika and other people on the island. So for me, it's really an honor to have you as my first guest because I think are you are a woman who really exemplifies what Fempowered is all about. Empowering women no matter their story. And empowering is not just coming and sharing an idea or thought, but it's also to me creating space for other women to share thought, creating opportunities for inclusiveness,
Yeah.
and really helping each other grow and become the best and, as you would say, highest expression of ourselves. So so it's really good to have you. I'm going to let you say any parting words you have now, and we're going to wrap this one up. I'm hoping that this was short and sweet, and I want you to come back and view and share and experience more coffee and conversation. So I'm going to keep this one around the 25-minute mark, and I'm going to let Tash give us some final closing words. Also, let us know how we could connect with you, work with you, follow you. I think people need to experience your work, your energy, and that bit of your brand of goodness. I like to call it that, your brand of goodness that you put out in the world. So let's know how we can link up with you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just again wanted to say thank you so much for having me. This has been an amazing experience. You have inspired me so much with the work that you do, particularly with the work of empowering people or women specifically, who have, had challenges that they've found it particularly hard to surmount, and how they actually get themselves back and get their souls back and get their energy back from things that have been challenging for them. That for me is such a beautiful space to be holding for women. So I actually honor you for that. And as always, anything that I can actually do to help you expand that, I'm always here for you. And in terms of me and my work, to find me, I'm at tashmitch.com. And I've also got a place where I hold all my workshops, which is soulfulchakra.com. So
Alrighty, well, thank you again, Tash. This has been episode 1 of Coffee and Conversations. I'm plugging the brand right here, and it's to you by Fempowered, by Kalana Charles of Fempowered. And like I said, Fempowered is about empowering women no matter their story. And my hope is that through these monthly conversations with women who I think are doing great things and sharing their brand of goodness and difference in the world, that we too can become a community of women who feels empowered and challenged to go out, give our best, and just live the highest, best versions of our lives. So, Tash, it's been great. Thank you for viewing and stay tuned to episode 2 of Coffee and Conversations. Bye bye.